Welcome back to the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. Today, I'm here for another episode of me on my own. And what we're going to call this today is a bit of a behind-the-scenes episode. A little bit of you hearing what I'm up to at the moment and a couple of mini changes to the channel as well. So these are exciting. These are linked with where I see the future of the 100% brand going, the podcast and the content online as well. So if you're interested in that, then please stick around and listen up. You can also hear a little bit more about my goals for this year. And as well as that, another exciting update on the 100% journal and the impact that it can now have on you in the future. So if that intrigues you and you want to stick around, then this is the episode for you. In terms of the changes that's happening to the show, there's nothing drastic, right? There's nothing really that's going to stop you in your tracks and go, oh my God, that's so different. He's not 100% podcast anymore. He's the 50% podcast. Nothing like that. What is happening though is that we are going to categorize my content and give in what the research that I've been doing is give the algorithm a chance to really know what I'm looking to do. So of course I've got Spotify, Apple Podcasts and YouTube, which I upload my podcast episodes to. And when I do my solo ones, my idea for them is that they come across a little bit more educational than just having a conversation with somebody who, of course, there may be conversations with people that are insanely educational. And actually, I'll give myself some credit and say that I've done some really educational ones. I know that I've literally just found out that one of my most popular ever videos on YouTube is my biggest tips from running, from my journey. And that's growing exponentially as we speak. But I say exponentially, it's like over nearly 1,000 views, and that's really good for my channel. And I know that I'm a small channel still, but the idea is that I can continue to grow the podcast and continue to grow my brand and my message of 100% with two kind of different content splits. The first split being getting people here, sitting opposite me and doing genuine conversations, which I get so much out of. I was speaking recently on a podcast that I was invited onto about the joy of just having conversation and connection with another human. It's incredible, and it's something that kind of goes amiss this day and age. But then also on the flip side, when I am sat here doing solo things, like today is a legitimate thing. I'm not really thinking too much about what I'm saying. I'm just rolling with the punches, and that makes a good podcast episode because it is just a conversation and I'm talking to you as if you're sat here in the room. But also at the same time, I have been doing my educational pieces. So the most recent podcast episode I released was probably more of a educational video that I'd like to make into a better, longer form piece of content, or not even as though I'd edit it at all, but a podcast episode shouldn't be edited up as a YouTube video, right? And that's kind of the image that in my head is going around when I'm doing the five things to avoid in 2026, or 5 things that are keeping you stuck in 2026. It's not really, obviously there is space for people to listen to that if they want to, but for like visual learners and people who, like so many people are on the YouTube bandwagon for going and getting their self-help now, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to just do it as a podcast, you know? So, and there'll still be those kind of podcasty episodes. Like today, you may take something away from it. You may think, oh, do you know what? That's such a good idea, Harry. I'm going to go and do that. But there'll also be the other channel, which is going to be, we can plug this, but the other channel is going to be called, it's just called Harry Purdy. How entertaining is that? View channel, where is it? The @ on it is Harry.PurdyOfficial. So that's where the channel is going to be, but we can talk about that more further down the line. But in terms of the bigger picture, obviously, like I'm not going to sit here and say, I know completely where I am, right? I'm not disillusioned. I know that my audience is small in comparison to the bigger people who I admire in the podcast game and the YouTube game. But like, who's to say that we can't aim high, right? And I think to aim high, I have to look at what I've done. I have to analyze what I've done in the past and The growth of the podcast has been amazing. The change in the content style has been amazing. Like having this studio here and having this mic and stuff that I can literally just come in, sit down and get some content recorded is unbelievable. It's such a privilege, but also I've given myself the opportunity to go and achieve that, right? It's not like it's been a lucky thing. Like I didn't just stumble across my own mini studio in the house. I had to put it together and had to speak to the right people to put together the right kit. But now it's about going, right, we've done that. We've messed about with that kind of content style or that kind of quality of content since when I remember the change up was when I signed up or got admitted to the London Marathon. So now it's about what do we do? How do we grow again next? And there's going to be some messing about with the algorithm. We're going to grow, literally put a bank of content together for the second channel, or which may turn into the main channel, the non-podcast channel, should I say, the Harry Purdy channel, which is just going to be about my brand and about what I talk about and be educational enough, but also entertaining. Like I'm thinking about doing some review videos. I've just invested. I say invested as if I'm now like getting some money from it. I've just bought some new tonic, which is a drink that I have been intrigued about, and I've had a couple of them before, but I wanted to invest in a few cans of it and take it over a little while just to see how much my productivity and my brain function increases. And I may even dive into it now. I feel more of course, when I go to say, when I feel more coherent and I'm communicating quite well, I go to mumble my words. But really, I do feel quite focused right now. And if it's a placebo, then it's a placebo. But if a placebo works, then great. But we could come on to that. I'm thinking about doing a review video on it and my honest opinion. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. But also many other things like days in the life of when I go training or when I go running and just airing my thoughts. So that could, I hope it brings you great joy. I know those things bring me great joy, right? Training, running, talking, sharing my opinion with the world. And yeah, I don't know. I'm quite excited about where this is going to go. Hello, YouTube. I'm stopping you in the middle of this episode because a lot of you who stick around and watch my podcast episodes aren't yet subscribed. So do me a favor before you carry on watching the rest of this episode and just click the subscribe button. And you don't even need to watch every episode, but what it does do is it boosts this channel and it helps me a long, long way. Enjoy the rest of the show. The other thing I wanted to share with the channel is that throughout my journey of doing the podcast and putting content out there, there's always been, you'd never think it, and I know you may be like, oh, I was just saying it for X, Y, and Z reason. There's no motive, but no ulterior motive behind what I'm saying here. There's always been a little bit of a fear around me releasing the educational content, even though like in person with clients, with like whether they be with me for fat loss, mindset, mental health, or running, there's no issue with me sharing my knowledge with them. But when I think about putting myself out there on a bigger platform, there is a little bit of doubt, and I don't like to use the phrase, but a limiting belief with regards to that. So it's about me actually stepping up and being creative with it and putting myself out there more in a way that maybe I can help some other people, right? And although I've done my solo podcast episodes, I feel like I can kind of stand behind a little bit of a shield with that. And it's a podcast episode, so it doesn't matter too much. But actually, stepping up into the realm of I want to release more educational reels. I want to see if I can crack I'm not necessarily after going viral, but what I would like to do is help more people. And I do believe that the message of what I share is quite a powerful one. And the side quests from what I do with regards to, I think journaling should be accessible to everybody, no matter like what you do, where you're from. I think it's something that has fundamentally impacted my life, and it's something that can impact your life too if you're willing to put the time in to do it. And things like meditating, things like sharing stories, things like putting your focus into other people, and the journey of what you see with Harry Purdy and 100% is almost live and direct, you know, like Westwood TV studios. You kind of see the journey as it goes along. And I would like to dive into that a little bit more. And I know I don't want it to be like the girl vlogs that you see online, which is people sharing lives. But I'd like to share a little bit more about what I do. Maybe a day at football with me and all those kind of things. But more importantly, it's about diving into the solo content in a way where I don't. What's the word? I don't take away the power of the conversations I have on the podcast too. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you understand the change up. Speaking of the journal and the power of it, I do believe that it's really important. This isn't a space for me to, well, it's my space, so I can do what I want, but I'm not going to lecture you on the power of journaling today. What I am going to do is tell you that now I've made my mission really with the 100% journal is to make it accessible to everybody and give people a real small but powerful insight into the power of journaling and what it can do for your life. And speaking to somebody, a real clever guy, Dan Sullivan, who I've had on the podcast in the past, he recommended that although my journal is quite powerful and it's got some really good questions and it's available in 2 platforms, i.e. like paper version or PDF, we've created an online space where it is available for use interactively on desktop, iPad, or whatever, thing that you have, touchscreen thing that you have, and phone as well. So if you are intrigued into what I've turned the 14-day journal into, you can go over to 100. So the numbers 100% podcast. No, not that. 100%journal.co.uk. And all you need to do is pop in your email address and choose a password. You get your own login. So all of the information that you put into it, it can be obviously as private as you want, gets inputted into that journal. Then you have access to that for 2 weeks, which gives you an insight into whether you find it powerful, which I'm pretty confident that you will, and or whether you like the setup of the journal being interactive and online for you to use. So I hope that's really helpful. And to be honest with you, I think it's insanely exciting because it's a small piece of growth, but nevertheless it's growth in itself. And the final little anecdote I want to give you about journaling is yesterday, not as though I needed reminding, but I did get reminded of how powerful journaling is. Right now, unfortunately, my mum isn't too well. I don't mind sharing that. We won't go too much into the detail of it. And she, fingers crossed, she's on the road to recovery. She's in the right place. But being your mum and not being very well, it can be challenging, to make sure that you're bringing the right energy, you're focused on the work and intention that you want to set out to do. Like my creativeness, to make sure that that's managed at peak is difficult when something's going on in your mind. And yesterday I was like, I don't think I achieved too much because obviously distraction, popped into the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And it turned out when I did my journal that not only had I forgotten things that I'd done in the day, I write down 5 wins in the evening, just as my routine, my regular routine. I write down 5 wins every day, no matter how big or small. And I got to 5 wins yesterday and realised that I'd forgotten 2. And the power of actually putting what messed up congealed information that had happened in the day with distractions and phone calls and being present and making sure that I was there for my mum, whilst also working 2 jobs, whilst also going for a run myself. I've forgotten a lot of it, and actually putting it down on paper really reminded me that actually having that data in front of me overrided the drama, which I think is so important when it comes to journaling. Is you take drama away and you put data in front of you, and that gives you confidence. So even on the days that are shit, you can actually flip them and give you a perspective as to they weren't as bad as what you thought. Why does this link to the podcast and my goals? So with regards to the change up, everything that I stand for and believe in is about over the long term, right? So if we flip this with you guys and people who have worked with me before and people who may want to work with me in the future, the minimum amount of time you can work with me is 100 days, because I believe that progress is done over the long term rather than focusing on 4-week challenges and get skinny quick schemes and, you know, all of the things that I've spoke about multiple times in the past. And one of my favorite coach, Dax, he always says, and I've inherited this recently, because I believe if I say something enough, it's important. And he says that all the time. So it's given me the confidence to be like, you know what, if you're repeating yourself a lot on a subject, it must be important to you. And I fully believe that it is. Right now in January, you're seeing 4-week this, 8-week this. And I just don't think that it's suitable for people who have maybe a mindset issue with food, mindset issue with their body, mindset issue with their fitness, or there's limiting beliefs to make them believe or stop you believing that you can go away and achieve what you want to achieve when it comes to your energy, when it comes to overriding and forgetting about motivation and doing it anyway, when it comes to building a dream body or like achieving a goal when it comes to your fitness, like your first ever 10k or half marathon. If you was to only go in a quick fix mentality towards that, it would be way more difficult. So where that links in with my Q1 goals is this is about building in a structure that works over the long term. So you won't see any proper content coming out on the new channel for at least a month, but you will see the relentless podcast episodes come back, whether it be ones that is just like a chat with me behind the scenes, or whether it is that I have guests opposite me as well, which is really exciting. And the second thing as well is that this is just adding to the pot of me trying to help other people. So it's content with purpose rather than me, like I am today, sitting off and, like I say, rolling with the punches or going through the gears of just airing some thoughts to a camera and the mic, and then obviously you on the other side of the headphones or whatever you're listening to me on, if you're watching on YouTube, then that's also great. But that's why it links in. I think as well, one of the most important things that I've noticed over time is that it's about when you want to get results over the long term, you have to have the structures in place. And right now, this content change up is going to give me a structure to follow, i.e. set out times in the week where it's proper recording, or just shooting the shit on YouTube for the or on the stereo for the podcast, or on the mic for the podcast, and actually planning content out there as well. And that just gives you a little bit of an insight into why I'm doing this. So that just about wraps up today's episode of the podcast, where we've spoken about behind the scenes stuff going on at 100% HQ with me, Harry Purdy. If you have enjoyed today's behind the scenes listen up, and you've enjoyed the takeaways that I've given you today, and you've just enjoyed hearing me talk really about what's going on and why I do what I do and the latest updates, then drop a like and give me a subscribe on This Is The Podcast channel. Make sure you go and do that. And if you do like the solo episodes where I do give proper value and I am trying to give you tips to ensure that your health journey, your motivation, your energy, and even if it's trying new things and you want to come and hear what I've got to say about Newtonic and journaling and all those kind of things, then definitely go over to the other channel, which we'll put into the description here today. And if you have, like I said, enjoyed me talking about the journal and you want to give it a go yourself, make sure you go over to 100%journal.co.uk, or if you follow me on Instagram, or you want to go follow me on Instagram, Harry Purdy Official, you can grab my PDF version from the links in my bio as well. And again, we can drop them in the description today. But I really appreciate you sticking around with me for however long it's been today on an update on the show and the brand and what's happening next. It's really exciting. It's only the 15th of January 2026. There's plenty more to come from me. You'll see me here with a new episode every Friday. Take care.